Let's talk about the suffocating guilt-based education today. Why do some parents always make their children feel guilty? Growing up, you may often hear your parents complaining repeatedly. Our family isn't that well off, making money is really tough, and we work so hard, all for you. So you gradually learn to suppress your needs. Every time you summon up the courage to ask your parents for money, a strong sense of guilt wells up inside you. You'd rather wrong yourself and give up what you like than dare to add any burden to them. Even when you start making your own money later, when facing something nice you want to buy, you still feel an inexplicable tightness in your heart, hesitant and always reluctant, and you always feel that you don't deserve a too good life. They talk about the hardships and exhaustion of life, making you feel vaguely guilty, while on the other hand, they comfort you by saying, "Don't worry about things at home, just take care of yourself." Then they can't help but sigh and emphasize, "Never be like us, suffering from the lack of education. You just have to study hard so that you won't have to suffer in the future." So you struggle in this hot and cold contradictory emotion, becoming more and more sensitive and inferior, and even gradually doubting your own worth. You obviously lack money and love, and your self-esteem is at an extreme low, but you are often blamed by your parents for being a spoiled and happy child. A home is supposed to be a warm harbor, but you always feel like you are living under someone else's roof. You live cautiously, even crying only when you dare to hide quietly in a corner by yourself. The scariest thing about guilt-based education is that it will hold you firmly, making you lose yourself completely. Every time you have an emotional breakdown and argue loudly with your parents, you will sink deeper into guilt and self-blame, starting to reflect on whether I have gone too far, whether I am not filial enough. You even struggle with whether to bow your head and apologize. To calm the surging guilt in your heart, psychology refers to this phenomenon as guilt induction or emotional manipulation. When parents repeatedly emphasize their sacrifices and contributions, they are actually subtly creating a sense of guilt in you to gain control over your emotions and behavior. Adlerian psychology introduces an important concept called subject separation, meaning that everyone has their own subject and should be responsible for their own emotions and choices. Parents' hard work, anxiety, and life regrets are their own life subjects and should not be borne by you. If you blindly carry these emotions for them, not only can you not solve the problem, but you will trap yourself in an endless internal conflict, living more and more tired and less aware of your true self. So how can we get out of this trap of being manipulated by guilt step by step? Step 1. Let go of the obsession to change your parents. Their personalities, habits, and ways of expression have long been solidified by decades of life experience, and they can't be easily changed by a few words of persuasion or blind concession from you. The more you long to be understood and accepted by them, the easier it is to repeatedly fall into the abyss of disappointment and self-doubt. True liberation starts with acceptance. Accepting their limitations. Accepting that they can't be what you expect. Stop trying to wake up someone who never intended to change, and save your energy for the real you who needs care. Step 2. Learn to draw emotional boundaries. Remember that your parents' emotions, choices, and destinies are their subjects, not life assignments you must complete. You have no obligation to pay for their unhappiness, nor do you need to take on their life regrets. What you really should do is turn your gaze back and look tenderly at the self who has been ignored and always endured in suppression. Start learning to be responsible for yourself from now on, not for their emotions. Step 3. Be brave enough to recognize the true source of guilt. When that familiar sense of self-blame wells up again, gently remind yourself, is this guilt really because I did something wrong? Or am I just used to taking all their emotional losses and expectations as my own responsibility? Only when you make this clear can you escape from emotional blackmail. No longer mistake blind compromise for filial piety, and no longer mistake suppression and silence for love. So please believe that having the courage to say no to your parents is not betrayal or indifference, but your final decision to stop wronging yourself to fulfill others. You have the right to disobey, the right to choose your own life, and even the right to refuse to pay debts that were never yours in the first place.